What is going on, my friends? We are back at the Toronto Biohacking Summit 2018, sitting down with the herbal Jedi himself, Mr. Yarrow Willard. Yarrow has been blessing us with wisdom bombs and elixirs and plant and mushroom medicines of all kind throughout the weekend, and so we're stoked to have you here.
Thank you, man. Stoked to be here.
Yeah, so you're going to tune in and have a little bit of the Redefining Reality live summit experience.
Nice.
And first of all, I want to know what it is. I mean, with a name like yours, clearly there's a plant connection right from the get-go, or maybe pre-birth, if your parents planned it that far ahead.
Yeah, I believe that I was actually hired by Planet Earth to help spread her message. The plants share this message. They want to teach us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. But beyond that, my parents were of that hippie generation. My father was a herbalist, ethnobotanist, studying plants with the First Nation Blackfoot tribes of the prairies. And they decided to name me Yarrow, which is ironic because the flower of yarrow is a long, tall stalk with this shield-like energy. And we use the flower essence of this to protect us from psychic debris of other people. And I feel as though one of the missions I've accepted, if I so choose to say, is to help people learn ways to protect themselves from the noise that we get distracted by in the modern world, so they can tap back into their power using these plant allies as some of their education, teachers, healers in that sense.
Yeah, and I loved what you said about reishi, right, during the workshop on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right? The quote was, I believe it was, the mushroom or the medicine to protect the academic from their own mind.
You got it. To protect us from circular thinking, to protect us from going over and over things, to ground us, to bring us back into our body. And yeah, that's a byline out of China. They say this in China. They call it the mushroom of spiritual potency, to protect us from our own mind.
And do you find that these days, with anxiety being what it is and depression being what it is, that more and more folks are looking for that, are coming to you guys for that?
Yeah, and I'll say, like, they're coming to us or coming to find medicines like reishi for that, but it's really, and the reishi is very helpful. If out of my top 10 herbs, it's right up there as one of the #1 herbs I would recommend to many people in the modern world. The real, base of the issue, though, comes from nature deficit disorder. Kind of like ADD, but really our lack of connection to the abundant source energy that can ground us, like just physically into our breath, into meditation, into walking in our purpose and being connected. We're lonely. Essentially, every other organism shares communication with each other. They share a language that is subtle nuances that everyone in the natural world knows how to read, and we've lost the ability to read that language. So we're lonely. We actually have no other species to necessarily communicate with. And things that reishi does for us by grounding us into our body is help us really tap back into a little more of that attention presence, that we can be a little more present in our moments. And I think that in itself has a huge benefit for so many people, beyond the fact that this is also very immunomodulating and protecting the body's immune system, opening up the bronchioles, supporting the liver, you name it. There's so many things reishi can help with, but the biggest one is bring us back into a present state and help us from getting out of our cyclic circle thinking.
Yeah, it really is endlessly fascinating and inspiring when I reconnect to the benefits of plants and the benefits of mushrooms, particularly mushrooms, it seems, in that, if you could dream up a drug or a pill or a substance or an ally, right, a team member, whatever it is, with all the best characteristics to support you on your journey, these would be them.
That's something that I 100% agree, and is one of the things that fuels me about why I share the message from the mushrooms. I feel as though, wow, if more people knew, how can we get this information to more people? Because there's so many of us, and reishi is one of a whole handful of some of the best allies on this planet. And I'll tell you
Feel
one of the
free
reasons.
to list them off as you.
Yeah, so I mean,
you like.
reishi, obviously, and one that a lot of people know is chaga, really anti-inflammatory, good for the digestive system, good for antioxidants and anti-tumoral, as well as liver protective. We've got turkey tail, which is one that's very liver protective and antiviral, but also is used heavily alongside chemotherapies in Asia, and up to 400 times better recovery rate from radiation toxicity using the turkey tail alongside the chemo. So that's amazing. And then cordyceps is another one that's just like invaluable, the way it opens the bronchioles, helps support asthma, deals with a bit of the fight or flight stress, fight, flight, or freeze, stress, adrenal axes, burnout that a lot of people have. But beyond those, all of these like major conchs, these polypores that grow on the trees, whether they're these top 5 I've mentioned, or they're just your red-belted polypore, your tinder conch, or your other ones that are growing in the birch boletes or birch polypores, any of these kind of ones all have this branched polysaccharide chemistry to them that helps modulate our immune system. So there's a lot of medicine there, but the thing that really gets me about the mushrooms is that we actually, humans and animals, are an offshoot of the fungal kingdom. So we are much closer related to fungus than we are to plants. And many of these ennobled mushrooms, these evolved tree mushrooms, get similar diseases to what we have. They have similar nervous system. They have similar way of respiration. They have similar way of cognitive function. It's an externalized neural net underground called the mycelial net, but it's in this layer that they have a hypha, and it's like a finger that has ears, eyes, nose, mouth, and it's sensing, sending biofeedbacks, just like we would do from our digestive system or our sensory perception to our central nervous system, back and forth along our spinal column. You see this same thing happening in these mycelial networks, and the attention of the mycelial network will come to the spot where the sensory perception has discovered something new. So there's all these really interesting similarities that they have, and because of that, them being a lot older than us, they've found out strategies on how to deal with the pathogenic organisms of this planet. Those organisms would take advantage of us of flesh and blood, and they impart that onto us when we start to work with them. And that, to me, is the biggest kind of hook I got into mushroom. Is that, wait a minute, up to 67% the same DNA as me? Wow, that's pretty close. And been here wiser than the forest, been here for a long time, dealt with the strategies on how to deal with pathogens. Okay, that's wisdom that I want to align with.
Let alone, it's mostly free.
Yep.
All you got to do, and many times, is go for a walk in the woods, right, and be curious to find it. Which has its own set of benefits, right? The forest bathing we talked about.
Just as beneficial as using the mushroom itself, is being in their ecosystem and spending time getting present.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, there's no reason not to have these things as part of our toolkit, as part of our medicine cabinet.
But there is a grave danger that we don't see the forest for the trees. You know, we don't see the forest for the mushrooms. We see most forests are seen for the timber, right, that they hold. And there's a loss of value in that viewpoint of the forest. If we recognized how powerful this type of forest bathing and these kind of mushrooms could have for people in our cities who are suffering from various mental illnesses, who have chronic diseases, who have these kind of degenerative situations which our modern medicine has no ability to really work with. Wow, the answer's right there. But all we see is timber. So that's part of the message, is how do we start to appreciate these ecosystems for their true wealth, and it's beyond a physical form. It dives into us being a multi-bodied being, mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical. You know, so how do we start to value the forests for their mental, spiritual, emotional sides, not just the physical? And that even goes with the mushrooms. Like, there's beta-glucans, there's branched polysaccharides, there's triterpenes, but there's more than that. There's this intelligent design that has put it all together, and that's the spirit of the mushroom that has as much of that healing benefit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big paradigm shift for a lot of folks. right?
It sure is.
It's a big one, and yet it continues to happen, and I think more rapidly, right? And I was really encouraged when you talked about some of the stuff that is common in Japan, such as
Yeah.
doing the forest bathing, right? Using the turkey tail for cancer, like just
Yeah.
that's standard, right?
It is, and coming out of the Asian cultures in general, I mean, reishi has 4,000 years of written history. You know, the emperor of the Forbidden City put a giant golden reishi on his throne. Like, they know this is valuable. They've seen this. It's built into the ecosystem of their consciousness in those cultures.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's something we could take a lot from in North America. And the thing that I would say that really resonates too with me is that I believe in what I call fractal truths. Not just a truth that feels right to my physical body or my spiritual body, but a truth that sits on multi-levels, that hits me like yes, yes, yes. It takes 3 yeses to make a real yes. And if I get this fractal layering of a truth, this medicine works on all these levels, I'm like, wow, there's real potency. And that's what I try to look for in a relationship with a person, in a relationship with a medicine.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And before we jump into our rapid fire here, I just wanted you to quickly share your 80-20 sort of,
Yeah.
method for health that you broke down the other day.
Yeah, well, okay, so to rewind that for a second, I've been through many health diets. You know, I grew up, my mom was manager of a health food store. I was drinking the worst soy milk ever, eating all these like trendy, healthy foods throughout my whole life as a kid. In fact, I never wanted my friends to come over after school because they would not eat the food. And it was always these weird health food trends. And I just sort of watched this, where coconut oil was bad and then coconut oil was good and then coconut oil was bad again. And I was like, where does this sit? And I started to sort of break apart away from all the dietary approach. And I realized that what makes a healthy diet is the positive feeling we have around the food, whether that's with family, with friends, or with no guilt. And so knowing what I know today, I am continually trying to update my idea of what a diet is. And 80-20 works on a lot of levels, but on a dietary approach, it's 80% what I call, and this is a very technical term, awesome upgrade. What I mean by that is, what is the best to my capabilities right now that I know of? Do I know it's winter and I should be eating warming foods? Is it spring and I should be eating sprouts and greens and toning my liver? Is it summer and I need to cool down? I'll eat 80% of that awesome diet that is the upgrade based on what I know about diet, throwing out other dietary paradigms, and take 20% zero guilt, which means when I'm in an airport, when I'm at a friend's birthday party, when I'm over at someone's house for dinner, I love the food that I know is probably not that good for me based on my science knowing, my nutrition knowing, and my body will tell me, probably not that good for you, but I'll love it. And I'll know that I've built the kind of resilience within inside of myself that I'm going to transmute this shit into gold, and then back into shit again.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. No, that is, I think if you only take one thing, that might be the thing, because the orthorexia that we've been chatting about, and the guilt and the heaviness that people are putting on themselves when they're just doing their best. They're
That's
just
it.
doing your best.
And there's a truth and here's another one of those fractal universal truths. Every one of us wants to do better. We want to feel better. We want to appreciate and feel appreciated and validate. And so we all want to do better. And the problem, and just to break down in case none of you know what orthorexia is, it's actually the health food disease. It's the guilt diet of, oh, I can't do this, can't do that, can't do this. It's in the same family as bulimia and anorexia. It's an eating disorder. Many of us have suffered from it or still do. So I really invite you to look at this idea of the flexitarian, sometimes I call it the opportunivore, 80-20 rule and paradigm, where you love your food no matter what it is. The only thing I will say is that maintain a strict 80% awesome, because it's easy for some people to slide down to like, oh, zero guilt, okay, I'm 60-40, then I'm 40-60, then I'm just eating crap. So, maintain your ethics around high quality, high density nutrition, but then have no guilt when you want to eat that cake and enjoy it too. When you're at a kid's birthday party, when you're at the airport, whatever those food choices that are not ideal are. Enjoy them and love them and make them good.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Okay, diving into our rapid fire. What is your number one favorite self-care practice?
Good breathing practice. Really a meditation, but starting and using some of the breathing along with that. I guess if I were to break that down, it'd be stopping entirely, getting present, rewiring with my breath, becoming appreciative of all the things I have right now in life, all the amazing things that life has given me, my friends, my family, my food, my body, my everything. And then what am I going to do with it? Grow that feeling. What am I doing with it? How am I going to improve this? I'm not stopping here. I'm excited about what's next. And then stopping and dialing back into receiving mode. Just what does the universe have to share with me? And I feel this meditation, really simple, is probably the best tool I've found.
Okay. Yeah, simple and effective. What would be a book that you came across at some point that changed your life that you want to share with more people?
Oh, geez. Well, I'll give you an author. His name's Stephen Buhner, and he writes a series of books, The Sacred Teachings of Plants, the Secret Language of Plants, a number of books. He's got a series of 6 or 7. In this one, Plant Intelligence and the Imaginal Realm. That one's like his latest in that series. That one, wow, will blow your mind as far as the interrelationship communication that's happening between species. That's actually not just scientifically validated, but also you can feel it when you're there. And so, really beautiful author. Love his work. He's a herbalist, naturalist, and poet.
Okay.
Yeah, Stephen Buhner.
Okay, noted, noted. What do you think is, you may have already answered this, but the most pressing health issue facing humanity?
Well, I said nature deficit disorder. I really believe it. I think it stems into most of our, and second to that is mental illness. But I'd say nature deficit disorder trumps mental illness because when you get your nature, your mental illnesses start to go away. More so than like cardiovascular health, immune, cancer. These are all major issues, but ultimately we feel lonely and we're not connected to the other species or tribe. So yeah.
Okay, okay. And if you were going to be stranded on an island and could only take one superfood or supplement with you, what would that be?
So I love this question. I've answered it before. I'll give you 2 different scenarios. First one is, what is normally on a desert island? Coconuts. I mean, come on. Would you not take coconut to a desert island? It's the perfect food. It's got electrolytes, it's got proteins, it's got fats. I can make it into a shelter. I can use the thatching to create a house. I can live abundantly with a frickin' coconut tree. I mean, so the desert island already came with the one superfood I would take. The other one, if I were to be on we'll call it a temperate desert island where there is no coconut, it'd be the other one that grows close to water's edge, cattails. Cattails are a plant that grows in the bogs. You've seen them, look like hot dogs on a stick.
Yeah, they explode with all the little...
So in that little hot dog on a stick is all this pollen that is super high protein. As they explode, it creates insulation, and we can use that to pack clothing. We can pack our beds. We can make a bed. The length of the cattail can be used as thatching to make mats, to make clothes, to make houses, and the root is full of starches. So I'd take that starch of that root, pound it down to make sugars. So I've got fats, sugars, proteins, insulation, and a full-on beautiful luxury condo on my island made out of cattails.
Wow.
So those are 2 different scenarios, but yeah, herbs are abundant. Plants, if you know how to use them, if you look at the ethnobotany, the indigenous wisdom around many of these things, amazing what you can create.
And would you just eat that pollen as well?
Yeah, I would.
Talk about your Pollen Eaters Facebook group.
Yeah, I do. We have a group called Pollen Eaters. It's just really fun. I made it up one day. I'm like, pollen eaters, kind of pollinators.
Yeah.
We eat pollen, and literally the best biochemistry in plants is usually in their sexual reproductive pollens. So high protein, usually free-form amino acids, so a lot of bioavailable building blocks. Most of them are chock full of antioxidants, including cattail pollen, and a lot of them have really unique chemistry, like glutathione and coenzyme Q10 and the superoxide dismutase and these kind of things. You know, pine pollen and things like that are high in androgens and like precursors to hormonal support in the body. So powerful medicines in the pollen.
Wow. Okay. I love it.
All right.
I love it. In the next 6 months, whether it be business, personal, life, projects, What's something you're really looking forward to?
Well, I mean, this one's easy for me because my wife is pregnant.
Ooh.
So I'm looking forward to my new baby. I'm looking actually forward to a bit of paternity leave and doing, I'm making a video series on crafting plant medicine. And I'm doing this as we have our new baby. Taking some home shavasana to really dabble in the kitchen with the camera and to hang out with my newborn and just get back into that more beautiful world my heart knows is possible. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. What's a popular myth or misconception you see in the world, in the health world, that you'd want to dispel once and for all?
This is going to be a challenging one for some people.
Okay. Yeah,
And
let's do it.
I want to say gluten intolerance. A lot of people are on this, and a lot of people have a sensitive digestive system, and yes, gluten has its problems, but I would argue that it's the glycophosphates and the Roundup Ready wheat that has caused this inflammatory state, and it's not the simple carb wheats. Like, yeah, there's problems with that, but I think a lot of people will blame gluten rather than take responsibility for the fact that, hey, my gut's inflamed, I might be overthinking, and my gut inflammation, my lack of listening to intuition is teaching me how to receive from my body. So I'm getting an extreme response from my body because I don't know how to listen, right? If I knew how to listen better and intuit the types of food that worked with me, it wouldn't be oh, I can't have wheat, I'm sorry, I can't. It wouldn't be this kind of shame diet around of the gluten
The evil
thing.
gluten.
Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between true celiacs. I know a true celiac,
yes.
but this modern gluten intolerance is really comes, and I think it's, if I look at the larger spectrum of what's happening, it's an awareness point. We're now becoming aware of how our bodies perceive, receive, and hold tension and inflammation, and we're using things like Roundup to teach us. We're using genetically modified organisms to teach us, whoa, you have this sensory perception that's beyond your five senses, and it's this interoceptive patterns of understanding the body. So there's a lot of message there to be learned, and I would dispel that it's the gluten. That would be the one, and that might be controversial, but I got a few. I like to look at where the health trends are and where I see potential hazardous things. I see potential hazardous things in the ketogenic diet. I see hazardous things in the vegan diet. I mean, all of them could be done well, but the amount of vegetarians I know that are like spaghettiivores, and just eat the worst diet ever, or are missing certain nutrients, or ketogenic people who are eating too much fat and too much protein and hard on their liver and kidneys, and their bile is just like trying to do this, and they're not intuiting a natural rhythm to a diet. If I lived in Antarctica or the Arctic and all I had was whale blubber, hell yeah, I'll eat ketogenic. But if I live in an environment where I have 70 degrees all the time inside not artificial light, I'm not sure that that's exactly the most appropriate. There's times, and I think of all of these, raw food, the vegan is a different thing, vegetarian is a different thing, it's an ethical thing, but the raw food, the keto, the paleo, whatever those are, I see them as cleanses, opportunities to recognize how our body responds. But the inevitability to shift into a more aligned, intuitive diet is going to be the best situation for everyone.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. The dogma, right? It's the dietary dogma.
Yeah.
And scientific dogma of any kind, truthfully.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
so being able to play in the gray and bring nuance
totally
to the equation.
Yeah, it's true. And I have this sort of hook I'd love to share about science. Love science, but every science is past. Every science is something we've already proven. Where we need to put our power in the modern world is in original thought, is in creativity, is in things we haven't already scientifically proven. So if we buy into science as our religion, we're buying into past experiences and past results. We're not opening to the opportunity for creative flow, source code connection, and that sort of thought field power that is our superpower in the 21st century. And so I really would invite people to look at your originality, your value as being your creative and imaginal scape. How can you bring you, not a scientifically proven fact? How can you bring you in your best form?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. Okay, almost done here. So, a habit or belief that you're either wanting to let go of or transcend, or to flip it, a virtue you want to bring in and anchor in.
Yeah. Well, one I've been working on for a while, and I feel like I'm working through this one really well right now, is and I think a lot of people probably face the same thing, but through my life, I'm not enough. And I've been working on this transcending this like, and it started with like, I'd be giving more than I should because I was like, oh, I'm not enough. And I'd oversaturate with abundance. And I'm working on cooling that down, holding back myself a little bit, and knowing that I'm already enough just sitting here. No need to prove to anyone. No need to be more than I am. Just trying to get more present. And I was enough the day I was born. I never had to be anything different. And that's something I'm trying to transcend right now, is that I already won because I was born here. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. So this life is something I should be enjoying, not grasping to get to some enlightened place. Because I was already there. I'm already there. I'm already enough. You know, there's no more to conquer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dig it. Dig it. And to wrap up, given that the name of the show is Redefining Reality, what does that term bring up in you?
It brings up pivoting and, well, actually what just hit me right now was playing dodgeball. When I'm like, move, have multiple things coming at me at once, too much static, too much information. How do I pivot so I can see myself more clearly in that sense? Yeah.
Okay.
That's a way to redefining is creating your own view and pivoting from anyone else's trained in dogma, unlearning so that you can find yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right.
I love it. Yarrow, for the people that want to connect, want to follow your YouTube, follow your stuff online, connect with your company, get some herbs, get some mushrooms, what's the best place to find all those?
Nice. Well, I go under the hashtag Herbal Jedi. This was something somebody gave to me. May the forest be with you. So that's our YouTube channel. That's my Instagram. And our company's called Harmonic Arts. We're a Canadian-based company, harmonicarts.ca. We do superfoods, mushrooms, medicinal elixirs, tinctures, teas, wide spectrum of medicine bridge offerings to help you enhance your own life. And I also am the director of the Wild Rose College of Natural Healing, which is an online school for growing herbalists, for learning about plant medicine. And it's at wildrosecollege.com. And we have great education there. So find me either at Herbal Jedi, Harmonic Arts, or Wild Rose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic, brother.
Thank you, man.
And for everybody listening, you know what to do. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and pass it on to someone who can benefit from this conversation.
Yeah.
And like he said, may the forest be with you.
You got it.
Peace.
Woo-hoo. Ow!